Good afternoon, all you rebels. Thanks so much for hopping into the studio again with us today. It's a sunny day here in Carolina, and we are so excited here at Rebels of SaaS because we welcome none other than Dr. Boykin here into the studio today. Dr. Boykin, please say hello.
Well, hello, and I want to be friends with the rebels, so we can go with Dr. V. Let's get familiar. And we would go with V. However, here's my rule, and here's how it goes. There are other Black female doctors. There's 4.4% of us. If you know another non-medical Black female doctor, if you know that we exist, if you've come in contact with another one, and you're likely to come in contact with another one in the future, it's V. But if I'm your one and only or one of extremely few and you didn't even know there's only 4.4% of us, yeah, it's going to be Dr. V. But we're still friends.
I like it. Hey, look, it's like we've gone out on a coffee date. We were like getting to know each other as,
Right.
dates, but I mean, probably not going to be invited for Christmas yet, but it's all good because we can still go out for sushi and stuff. And I'm good with that.
That's right. Like by the end of this, we'll take off any fake eyelashes and I might let you see me without makeup. Not that I wear a lot. And then if we catch up again, right, then you can come over for Christmas, especially if you're making like some really good cobbler or that white chocolate crunchy stuff over the Chex Mix, like anything like that gets you in the door. And I'll probably also have you for Hanukkah. So we could do both.
I love it. I'm not mad at that at all. So I'd love to talk a little bit, Dr. V, just about like your, accolades and the things that you do. Like, just in case anyone is tuned in and this is the first time you've been turned on to Dr. V as a human, I just want to make sure that I share because, from a global advocacy standpoint, she does some really amazing things. And not to mention her full-time gig as none other than like senior program manager of leadership and onboarding at Hubspot.
That is my day job, and I feel very fortunate to have it. Besides that, I have a bachelor's of science in marketing management. I have a master's in organizational management and leadership. I'm reading this, y'all, as we go along. I also have my MBA, and then my doctorate of business administration or doctor of business administration. And my doctorate was in the social support systems that allow women in tech to obtain and retain senior leadership positions. And I think this crowd will really love the science that I established.
Oh, no, that sounds so sexy. And for a lot of different reasons. I mean, it's scary, right? How few and underrepresented I think that women in general are at the macro level. And your science really just further shows that from a transparency and vulnerability standpoint. And that's why it's so important, the work that you're doing inside of that. But like, I think it's cool to think through how we get to the place that makes us, like the ingredients that makes us the person that we are.
Oh yeah.
And like, how did you become how does Dr. V become Dr. V? Right? How did you 4.4%? Like that's the stat that I love that you use a lot. And I think like what inspires a person to do that? Like what was your journey like to get to that place?
I appreciate the question, and I laugh because I don't think your audience is expecting what they're about to hear. So in order for me to become, let's go. So in order for me to become a doctor, I also had to be a stripper. In order for me to become a doctor, I also had to go to prison and be a felon. So in order for me to make these things, I had to do that. And here's why.
Yeah.
A lot of people are driven by their dreams, but I am driven by my nightmares. And the biggest nightmare that I had once I hit 40, because I didn't go back to school till I was in my 40s, 2017. Maybe I was 39. I'd love to say I was 29, but we know that's a lie because I'm 50 now. But in order to do that, I had this nightmare and this true chip on my shoulder because I had been on food stamps. I had multiple marriages, and I therefore I have two children, and they're both from different fathers, and I married both of them, but that doesn't change the fact that when you look at it, I dropped out of school, had 2 kids, was married to both of them, but not necessarily before the child came. Am a Black woman that is a felon. Like, it was all of these tropes and things that you just don't want to be known for. And I felt I had done a disservice to my community. So I was like, well, what fixes that? What fixes the guilt? What fixes the shame? What fixes the imposter syndrome? Well, it's not 1 degree, because then I got that, and it wasn't 2 degrees, and then I got that, and it wasn't 3 degrees. But for damn sure, now that I'm on the fourth, I'm feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, because I mean, people, women, particularly, Black women, can say, okay, Dr. V can do it. I can do it.
That's right.
And that's what's so damn cool about it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what's incredible for other women that, can't, for whatever reason, they don't have accessibility to basic needs and things, and they are scared and, pissed off. And you mentioned guilt, maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
guilty about something. Um, to be able to say, okay, let's cut through the noise. I can be a badass. I can be
Yeah.
someone that's amazing. Like, I don't know. I think that's really inspiring. So just really cool. So tell us a little bit about, you said that you had been a felon and right. And
Mm-hmm.
your experience there. Like, what was something that you took out of your time when you were in prison that, you think really helped you to be able to have the confidence and the drive that you have? Because you just have such a confident persona, right? Like, I love
Is it
that.
the pearls?
It is, girl. It's the pearls. It is.
Pearls
It
in the
is.
button up. Look,
It
I,
is.
I will just say to all the women out there, shout out to my former strippers who made it, to all the women whose first venture into owning their own business and owning their own enterprise and scaling it was to control how their body is viewed and monetize that. Shout out to all
Mm.
of them, because it truly is your first dip into a realm where, number one, women are paid more than men, and you're running your own business and you're doing your own marketing. That is marketing, folks. And you're developing your own craft. That's a big thing. So you can be a badass there. And the same thing with all women who may have multiple children from multiple men, that are still finding a way to make it through. And also recognition to all of the women who don't have degrees. And maybe you're in your 40s and you decide you want to go get one. You're still a badass then. I am the same person that I've been this whole time. What I learned in prison, shout out to all the people in Huntsville. I don't think I've ever said that ever. I don't even know if they get podcasts. The state of Texas is a son of a gun when it comes to treating people that are incarcerated still like humans, because you don't hear your name. You don't hear your first name for the entire time. And there's
The
something
whole time
about
you're
that.
there,
Yes, so
and you
say
were
Dr. V. So say my
okay.
name. It becomes important because
Yeah.
if you're lucky, they'll call you by your last name. Um, or they'll just gesture or kind of grunt towards you. So that doesn't feel good. But what
Oh, yeah.
I learned how to STFU. I learned how to be quiet. I learned that
Interesting.
you can be in any situation and craft that to the being and person you are. So I never had a harsh word said. I never raised my voice. I never had a voice raised to me except by the staff. I never had a conflict. And I read more than I'd ever read in my life. Now, it was brutally painful to be away from my small children. I loved being a mother. However, the freedom of not being able to cook, but not having to cook, of not being able to plan your day, but not having to plan your day, and the amount of wasted human energy and intellect. So I read the Bible cover to cover 3 times. All y'all Christians out there, I might know it better than you. Um, which is cool. There's a lot of stuff not said that they say that he said, but he didn't say it. It's not in red, and I read it in the King James and the New Life, and I read it in the literal Jewish to English translation side by side. Y'all watch yourselves there. But I do want to make friends. But I control and control my emotions, and I learned about the humanity in a human being, regardless of circumstance, past, present, or what may occur in the future. The humanity of a person.
Yeah, that's because to your point, the interesting thing and the thing that really sucks, I think, sometimes about society is, that humanity part. People just don't think about it. It's not
Yeah.
it's a, hey, look, they become, I loved what you said about you're a person all along the way,
Hmm.
because a lot of times people are working so damn hard to be viewed as this or that, or to have this job, or to have this, um, societal sort of place and position. But at the end of the day, you've been the same person the whole time. And
The whole
celebrating
time.
that, that's, yeah, I mean, that in itself is incredibly enlightening. Um, so yeah, here at Rebels, Dr. V, we talk a lot about, you know, rebellious concepts like how do we move the needle for positive change in SaaS, those types of things. And I'm just curious, how does someone like you, with all of your experiences and education, right? What's a rebel to you?
What is a rebel to me?
Yes.
Anybody living in the intersectional space, I always feel they have me beat hands down in terms of how they have rebelled against this life. And what I mean by intersectional is I mean a Black, Indigenous person of color, and LGBTQ, and neurodiverse, and gender fluid, and my gosh, and transgender. And so when I say that is what I consider a rebel, the amount of energy it takes to walk through this bigoted world is unknown to those that don't have a reason to have a bigot come at them. And there are different intersections that are easier to hide. For example, it's easier for me to hide than my husband. He's a much more dark complected Black man. And so I have and enjoy a privilege that I didn't ask for, that at times I feel guilty about. So it's almost like I can almost identify with a cis white woman. I'm almost there, folks. I'm almost to where you are. Um, but I think that the next level of rebelliousness for me, and what I would like to see, is for white women to be reaching back to truly elevate BIPOC and BIPOC intersectional, because white women have been um, almost tokenized as the poster children for diversity and inclusion. And I love y'all. I love that you're there. I love that you've made those giant leaps. But I think there comes with a privilege, a responsibility. So this package that I'm in gives me a responsibility. The statistics that I've added to that are negative give me a responsibility, again, motivated by nightmares, not dreams. So I think that if you want to talk about the next rebellious conversation, I think it has a lot to do with white women in the tech space.
Ooh, I love it. I love
Is
it.
this thing still on though? Did you cut me off?
Yes. No, 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 no. It is. It is. No, I think it's brilliant. So, how, taking that sort of definition into consideration, I can name 5 different ways that I think that you're a rebel, right? A lot of them we've talked about through that journey and through, the accomplishments that you fought for, right? But like, what is your definitive way in your mind that you've been a rebel inside of the tech space? I mean, I can say it, I know, but I want you to say it because I know it's going to be so much damn better when you do.
I, um, say speak about is definitely an act of rebellion. I've been privileged enough to attend an event called Inbound and speak at that for the past 2 years, and just got my acceptance to this next year. Um,
Oh,
I think, yeah, I'm
congratulations.
really excited about that. I'm really excited and rebellious in the work that I did, because the work that I did, and I want to be really clear about this, um, my work was done and centered around women, white women included, all women included. I am not
Mhm.
anti white women. My work also surrounded supporting women, and specifically how women obtain and retain senior leadership positions. But I love my husband, and I love my son, and I love men. So two things can be true at the same time. I can say, hey, you're not doing enough. And hey, I'm so proud of what you're doing. And both of those things can be true. I also cannot seem to find a way to not incorporate advocating for the BIPOC and intersectional community when asked by senior leadership how things are going. And and sometimes I probably should take those moments to just say the right things in the right way and advocate for myself. And my husband always says, "Well, did you have to say it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." So I find myself a lot of times when asked, "What do you think and how did it go?" I think it went great. However, I also noticed there wasn't enough BIPOC representation, and I know there's that talent. Or I also noticed the last 14 people you hired, 1% BIPOC. And remember that Black, Indigenous people of color, when people get sensitive and upset about that, and kind of like, well, why are we giving so much to them or doing so much to them or focusing so much on that? Just listen to literally the sentence, Black, Indigenous people of color make up X%. That means you took every brown person you could find, threw them in a bucket, and then counted up that number. That would be like saying women are doing much better, but we're only hiring women from Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, well, women in Florida are going to be kind of pissed off.
That's
Maybe they
right.
are as a general rule anyway. I don't know. They have a lot of vitamin D down there. They should be the happiest
They
people in the
do. I
world.
mean, it's sun.
And Disney. And Disney.
And
So
Disney. There's Minnie and
maybe what?
Mickey down there.
But I think like I'm talking right now about these topics to an audience that may skew heavily not fans of what I'm saying, or they may, that's how I show up as a rebel. I tell the truth.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
It seems like such a basic thing to say the hard shit, but
Yeah.
it's very rare. And I think it's a lot of different reasons. I'll start there. I think that there's a lot of political pressure in a lot of organizations, unfortunately, to just not say the hard shit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also, as your research indicated, from a quantitative lens, like there's not a whole lot of representation in general for
Mm-hmm.
women and those that represent as women,
Yep.
and identify as such. And I think that's huge because it all goes back to what you just said. The part of the population and the people, the persons that don't identify as whatever the initial or native gender was, like that's part of such exactly what you're talking about, that type of human that can
Mm-hmm.
bring so much to the table,
Oh,
but
for
has to
sure.
fight every day just to be
Well,
themselves.
can
And
you
I'm like,
imagine?
from privilege, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, right, I'm a cis Caucasian woman, so I'm like, how, from a place of privilege, like I'm over here, like, how the hell do you just live your life in peace?
And look, I don't know about you, but I was not together and fully formed or actually attractive in middle school and definitely into the first part of high school. No,
I
no,
know.
this is fact. And if anybody from my high school is watching this, they're like, she's telling the truth now. That's for sure. Um, remember the struggle with getting my hair together, getting my makeup together, getting my esteem together. If you told me that I would have to do that again as an adult because I figured out that there is an incongruency with this body and how I identify and how I look, like you could not pay me enough to be 22 to 35 and now have to learn how to put on mascara for the first time. So let me tell you something, and I don't mean to trivialize it, but seriously, it must be true for that individual to want to transition. And I have no place to question it or do anything except respect and support it. Because my God, there is no way I would want to wear pantyhose for the first time in my 30s. Like, just
No.
think about how tough it is. Or transition over to being a man and having to stifle feelings and all of the traditional norms. Like, I just have so much admiration. So you want to talk about rebels. How rebellious is it to be your authentic self? And the
Truly, yeah.
generational wealth, Arlen Hamilton pointed this out in her book, Your First Million. The generational wealth that has been forfeited by the LGBTQ plus community as well as the BIPOC community just for showing up at the table.
Well, since we're talking about showing up at the table,
Yes.
what does inclusion really look like? How do we do that? Because I think that you hear about this DE&I stuff, right? And I think a lot of orgs are trying to do it. The employee resource groups,
Mm-hmm.
mentorship programs, all those
Mm-hmm.
fantastic things. But how do we make that leap so that inclusion's a real thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
I think I think we need to focus on two different parts. I don't even think we need to focus on inclusion. I think we need to focus on equity, and then I think we need to focus on belonging.
Ooh, okay,
So,
listening.
yeah, what my research showed is that social support creates an equitable environment that creates diverse leadership teams. Diverse leadership teams increase profits 15 to 35%.
Everybody
Gender
listening to that, 15 to
15 to
35%.
35. Yeah, say it again for the people in the back. And gender diverse executive teams, when you remove that gender diversity, there's a 21% profit gap. So the fact that no one is interested in 21% profit or the 15 to 35% profit, any company that doesn't have gender diversity in those places, gender representation, is a business that doesn't actually want to be profitable. So the first thing y'all do is need to talk amongst yourselves, right? The second thing I would say is in those social support systems that create equity for women, when women in tech were asked, senior leaders, what allowed you to do this? They said it was their spouse or spousal equivalent support. Now, in my study, 80% of the women I talked to said that every man they had ever dated, including an ex-husband, had discouraged them. So make that make sense. And this is how I make it make sense. As somebody that's had 3 terrible marriages and 1 great one, there is a difference. So I'm not telling anyone to go out and get a spouse or spousal equivalent. I am because I mean, my gosh, I like hid behind a man, and there's a reason I'm only a senior program manager. There's a reason I only went back to school in my 40s. The wrong men will keep you down, and you'll volunteer for that. So it's not a one-way street. But what you should put in place is what a great spouse can do for you.
Hmm.
And that's that where you pick up the phone and you're like, hey, honey, could I get ketchup on the way home? Yeah. Could you pick up dinner tonight? Hey, would you mind rotating the laundry? Right? Maybe they might vacuum. I mean, I had at least one of those 3
Ooh.
yeah, that would pick up a vacuum. But those are the actual social support systems, which means that companies, to make an equity play, to increase productivity, decrease attrition, should be offering house cleaning services, grocery delivery services. Like everybody should get a subscription to Instacart. Like, have that
Mm-hmm.
crap dropped off at the door, right? Meal kits like a Blue Apron or a Hello Fresh, those types of things. And if you want to know how to make it make sense, this is very simple. Think about the last time you worked in an office. Think about the last time when you worked in that office, you went to the supply cabinet, pulled out a vacuum, plugged it in, and vacuumed that office. I'll wait. But you sit at home, working at home in your office, pulling out vacuums to vacuum it.
Yeah, it's true.
Make it make sense. So
Mm.
those are the types of support systems that you should be pulling into your home. And I do understand finances are tight. I also know everybody that's working remote is no longer buying pants. So take your pants money and get yourself a professional house cleaner once a month. Change your life. Change your life.
Yeah, no, so I think, and to your point, investing in yourself, if you're not going to invest in anything else, investing in peace of mind so that you can have, a clean space to work in, or great meals prepared that you don't have to sit down and cook from scratch, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of the people that I love to watch she's on TikTok, Nara Smith. She's just an amazing human. I love to watch her, but everybody jokes on her because there's all these other influencers and content creators that picks on her because she has this need or this time slot. She can essentially cook everything from scratch. So if her kids want
Bless her
cereal,
heart.
they can go. Yeah, I know. I'm like, man. Now she's also married. She's also married to Lucky Bluesmith, and like he's an actor model. I know you know who he is. So she has the bandwidth and capacity to like do those things. But I've always been one of those people. I love to watch like Julia Childs make croissants, but
Sure.
if it comes down to it, I'm gonna go buy that shit
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's just I want to live my life in peace a little bit, and they're just as good when you buy them. You know what I mean? Like you can go, or even just go buying one ready made. You know?
Absolutely. And here's the deal. All of the women out there, and potentially men or gender fluid as well, that are feeling like they have to apologize to the stereotypical mother-in-law for having a house cleaning service, or maybe you're a little ashamed or embarrassed about it. It is now a scientific fact that you should do that as an equity play to increase your productivity at work. Because here's what's happening. There's been a 38% work-life balance drop since COVID. And so if you have 95% of women who in between meetings are throwing wash in, right, or making their grocery list, which is like, I'm so glad I've cut that out. I just refuse. But they're not strategizing. They're not strategizing, which means the company is not getting the most out of them. So what you are doing is just as important as bringing a pencil and a notebook into a meeting. It is a strategy exercise. So you don't have to apologize for it. In fact, you should proudly talk about that because what you're doing is you're making yourself a better employee.
Yeah.
It's science.
There you go. It's science. So everybody out there, you know, don't be afraid and don't apologize for that. You know, to Dr. B's point, you know, she's bringing the science here to the story. I mean, you're going to be a better employee, and you're also going to have some peace of mind. And let's be honest, I think everybody listening could enjoy that, right? I mean,
Yes. And
I
again,
mean,
like when you don't have to spend as much on makeup because if you get the shade a little wrong on your lipstick, you don't have to buy anymore. You just put on a filter on your Zoom or whatever it is. I haven't figured out how to do it yet, as y'all have seen when you watch this. But I mean, I know the kids can do it. I'm not trying to come in here and show me how to do it.
speaking of the kids,
Yeah.
I'm sure I've shared with you. I have a 6-year-old, and she's
How
starting to
you
say
doing?
things. Oh,
You doing all
Dr.
right?
B, some days it's you know, oh, she's saying these. It's so the kids, she's definitely getting in that kids phase. She got a hoodie last night and it's like rainbow themed and she's wearing this. We're driving to dinner last night and I look back and I'm like, where did this like 16, 17-year-old, 6-year-old come from? She's got like grumpy bear face on. And she's like, she looks at me and she says, bruh. She calls me bruh. I'm like, okay, I hear you, kid. But all that, I think girl moms versus boy moms are interesting. So, tell us, I know that because I'm part of his fandom on LinkedIn, that you have an awesome son who's a hell of a saleshuman,
Thank
among
you.
other things I know. But you know, tell us a little bit about like, you know, are you a dog or cat person? Tell us
Yeah,
about your family, like all that
sure.
stuff.
Okay, so here's the deal. I'm this like ferocious fighter for women's equity. I also cook dinner every night, and I make sure my husband has a different lunch than what was dinner
I'm laughing
the
with you,
night
not at you.
before.
I do that shit too.
I'm like, gosh darn it, all of the people at work will be jealous that you are getting a fresh cooked meal. Um, so there's that. Like I'm very traditional. I do all the wash in the house. Um, I do not do the cleaning. My mom lives with us also. She had triple bypass earlier last year. So that I get to have her here and finally I'm getting like breakfast brought up to me, which I love. Like I love. Like we can only make
Oh,
grandma so mad. I need that. And it's fried wontons. So fried wontons, 3 of them every morning. That's my breakfast. I have a daughter. She's a CNA. She is brilliant and has overcome so much. Like I cannot tell you. She is in school for her bachelor's. I know she won't mind me sharing that she has dyslexia and auditory processing disorder. So the amount of effort it takes her to do things is tripled, and yet she does it with such ease and grace. And she, I'll be like, "Oh, I got a piece of gossip. You want to hear it?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, "Whose child are you? Who are you?" And then there's also my son. He's the older of the two of them. He has taught me what tough love is, why you have it. He's taught me how kind and sensitive a man can be. Um, he has taught me to expand what I thought would be into what is. And more than anything, he's allowed me to truly experience the fact that our children are other human beings. Like they're not ours. They're
Mm.
literally human, and they are entitled to the same successes and failures that I want to be entitled to have. And that was not an easy lesson. I'm that mom, like the mom son, like so close, and you want them to have no pain when they're entitled to that and the success. So he is extremely successful right now. I'm so very proud of him. Yeah, he's really a good person. So that is my family. I am a cat person. I have Siamese cats, Sphinx cats, Lycoys, and Bengals, which I should have put those in different order. So I have Siamese who are demure, and then I have
Ooh.
Sphinx cats, which are a little more clownish. Then I have a Lycoi, and just to let you know, he's been trapped in the freezer. Um, and I had to find him as a kitten, and he's got a kink in his tail, and I'm not sure how it happened, but and he sliced his leg open once, and nobody knew how it happened, just gaping wound. And then I have a Bengal who is already, she's not even a year old. She's gotten herself in the freezer. I'm like, what does that sound? Like three of us are in the kitchen, and somehow she goes in the freezer. And they have glitter in their coat, which is an amazing thing. If you've never seen it, it's real. It looks like literally shaker glitter on it. And they better be good looking because boy, are they naughty. So before that, I was definitely a dog person. I was a boxer person 100% of the way.
Yeah, it's interesting. So actually, a friend of mine said that, hey, look, I think the thing about cats is that we're always trying to figure out what to do to entertain them, right? Like,
Yeah,
how do we get into their head, kind of thing. And
guilty.
I mean, yeah, and it's like it's kind of cool, you've got this cute, beautiful being that, it's no wonder that, people worship cats,
Oh,
right?
look, I think this is what I will say about my relationship with my cats, who are all very sweet. Well, one is in question. Um, but I
Ooh.
feel like I finally gotten my human relationship right, where like I'm
Mm.
treated incredibly well. And I truly think that my spouse thinks I am the smartest person in the room at all times. Like I'm like, I think I can. He's like, yes, you can. Um, and I shifted that to cats who, who are like, we don't think you can do a damn thing, and we don't even care if you figure out how to do it. So I feel like I've just shifted my dysfunctional relationship to my cat, which is a much better place for it, in my
That is that is awesome. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I don't know how, but it seems that we've had our time here. It is over
Wow,
already. I
get
know.
out. It's
Oh,
been great.
but this has been awesome just catching up with you. I think that, the work that you're doing is phenomenal. And I'm just really excited for everybody here in the audience to be able to listen and take advantage, and to, feel better, right, about all of the things that they are, and to hear and, be inspired, right, by the human that you are.
Thank
And it's
you.
funny because like you're just this person. I've known you long enough now. Like I said, we're sushi dating, right? So I
Yeah,
can say
yeah.
this. I can
We can
tell
split a
like
roll.
you're, yeah.
We can split a sushi
That's
roll.
oh now
We're there.
that
We're
whoa,
there.
hold on now. That's serious. That's getting serious. No. I just feel you are, I think women honestly a lot of times get beat to death by the humility stick. Oh, be humble, be this, be that.
Mhm.
I can tell though, you're very grounded in who you are in your mind, body, and spirit.
Thank you.
So there's a vein of humility there, but you have this like transcendent sort of confidence that's really admirable. So I just wanted to wrap by saying that.
Look, if you're saying stuff like that, how can I not feel like that? What I would like to leave one last piece with your listeners, if I may, is
Please.
when you go to work or when you're in your social circles and when you look around and you see only one other, well, maybe you only see one white woman, maybe you only see one black woman, maybe you only see one Native American, or maybe you see none of them. Make it your job to make sure there is more than one, not just one, more than one. If you are at your team at work and there is one black woman and one white woman and one Hispanic man. Make it your job to double that number. Figure out a way, elevate them. And here's the thing, they'll be so grateful, they're going to pull you along. So you don't have to worry that you're giving away. There's room for all of us. It's like sunshine. Everybody can walk out and get some.
Especially if you're in Florida.
Especially Florida. Come on, Florida. I feel like saying
It's
that to Arizona. Come on, Arizona. Come on,
I'll tell
Arizona.
you, Dr. V, it's a good thing that I do customer success and podcasts okay, because my comedy sucks. That's not, nobody's ever going to pay me for the
I'm
jokes.
laughing. I'm laughing.
So everybody out there, girls, guys, everybody in between, listen up. Don't be afraid to do it big and do it different. Follow Dr. V. She's got some great things that she's doing from an advocacy stance, but it's science. You know, I love that science always leads her direction here. And, you know, for everyone who's not capitalizing on equity play for profit, you know, follow the science. And thanks again, Dr. V, for joining.
Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you later, Rebels. Thanks for hopping on. Bye for now.